Howdy, I'm John.
And I'm Richard.
And this is Bronze and Modern Gods, your podcast for the Bronze and Modern Age of comics and the Copper Age and the Silver Age and the Golden Age.
Yeah, basically comics in general.
No Platinum Age here. We can guarantee you that.
Yeah.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Bronze and Modern Gods. If you have not already, please hit like, please hit subscribe. Yeah, YouTube stuff, algorithm, you know the deal. Hey, we've got all our features this week. Everyone's favorite topic, viewer mail, underrated books of the week, the old fart rule, 2 weeks in a row. Hey, bonus. And of course, our hot book of the week, Richard. It's all you, Richard.
Our hot book this week is, of course, Ultimate Fallout #4, the first appearance of Miles Morales. Man,
Do you need a cigarette after saying that?
I have so been waiting for this week. Unfortunately, I have not been able to see the new movie. The new Spider-Verse movie came out this week. I am going to see it tonight. I have a ticket for $9.50. So after we finish recording, I'm going to go out and see the movie. My son saw it yesterday. He refuses to spoil it for me. I appreciate that. But he says it was the best movie he's seen this year. Our mutual friend Evan has seen it and said it was excellent. The Rotten Tomatoes score for it in the high 90s. So I'm psyched. I'm really psyched for the movie. And I'm psyched for the fact that it's the first of two movies. There is another movie, the second part of this storyline is coming out next year. So I hear this movie ends with a cliffhanger. So if you guys watch the movie, be prepared for it to end abruptly.
That's right. I bet you're even more excited at this article that I'm showing on the screen now from Variety earlier this week, where producer Amy Pascal says there's a Spider-Woman movie in the works and a live-action Miles Morales movie. She says, You'll see all of it. It's all happening.
That is amazing. It's not surprising at all, given that the first Spider-Verse movie was so successful. If this one is as successful, and then the third one, it's a seals the deal on live action. Speaking of the book itself, Ultimate Fallout 4, it had a peak back in 2022 of $2,631. Is that right, John?
That's what it says in GPA. Yeah.
Okay. I distinctly remember.
Was it in 4,000 or something?
Yeah, I distinctly remembered an eBay sale for $4,000 back earlier in 2020.
Well, that was the average. This is the average I have in here, not peaks.
Not the peaks. Gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha. The last sale just recently was for $19.50. It had gone down significantly, and it's taking a peak because of the movie. And I think because of the fact that the movie is a cliffhanger and there's going to be unresolved tension until the next movie comes out, I think we're going to see some buoyancy in the value of this book up until the next movie comes out. If this movie is going to be as successful as so far it's proven to be, people are just starved for a good Marvel movie. The MCU has had some tepid movies in terms of their acceptance, and I think if this is wildly successful, it's really going to buoy up Marvel Morales books in general.
You leave the Eternals alone. Gosh darn.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Not so good. But
when's the Hercules movie? Sorry.
So yeah, if you haven't had an opportunity to see the movie, go out and see it. Support Sony and its efforts. My son also said there's a video game coming out. This a #2 for Miles Morales. Yep. So the Miles Morales hype train is continuing.
Yeah, the video game Spider-Man 2 is the one that had the free comic book with both Peter Parker and Miles Morales on the front, because they meet in the game Spider-Man 2, and that was the one that was limited to 20 copies to certain stores, and immediately was selling for $20-30, even though it was a free comic book. And I had my LCS had a stack of them sitting on the counter, and I poo-pooed it and walked on past.
Well, you learn your lessons.
Story of my life. Well, before we get started, we have a little feature we are trying out the last few weeks. We'll keep it going. It's a little show and tell. I've got one book this week. Richard, do you have anything, or is it just my
Uh,
book?
just your book. My show and tell hasn't shown up yet, so I'm waiting for Heritage to deliver it.
Oh my gosh, you bought from Heritage.
Wait till you see. I'm not going to spoil it. I'll just wait till you see.
You massive hypocrite, you. I love it. I can respect that. I teased this last week. I missed it when the postal officer came by my door. It needed a signature, and I had to go to the post office to pick it up earlier this week. And it is. I'm looking at it because it's so pretty. I should show you guys.
Please.
It is Astonishing. Whoops. Number 5, featuring.
Layer there.
Yeah, featuring Marvel Boy. You can see Marvel Boy there in
That's good.
His little blue hot pants.
Mm-hmm.
And Marvel Boy, as you guys know, sort of becomes Quasar. The quantum bands that he has are passed down to Wendell Vaughn. But this was Marvel Boy for issues 1 and 2. And then with issue 3, it turned into a title called Astonishing, but still featured all Marvel Boy stories. I'm not sure why the title change was necessary, because it was still a Marvel Boy comic. But by issue 5 and 6, more science fiction and horror stories started creeping in the back. And then by issue 7, Marvel Boy was out, and it became another pre-code horror book. But is nice. It's a 4.0. It is off-white to white pages. The main defect is this rusty staple down here at the bottom. If it wasn't for that rusty staple, I think it would be more of a 5.0, maybe a 5.5. The back cover looks great.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You have athlete's foot?
It's amazing the advertisers the back covers had over the years.
Yeah, so I'm really happy. I'm down to just needing, I think, issue 4. I need issue 4 of Astonishing, and then I'm done with my Marvel Boy run. I do need a nicer Marvel Boy number 1, but I ain't breaking the bank for that right now. I know I'm buying a lot lately, everybody, but I'm being good. I'm making deals. I'm trading stuff. I'm not paying sticker price.
Yeah.
So,
well, you'll upgrade your Marvel Boy number 1 as time goes on. You don't want to do it all at once. It kind of spoils the fun.
I know. And we have lots of conventions coming up that you and I will be at, including Neo Comic Con, July 30th. Plug. So let's move on to everyone's favorite segment, yours and mine, Viewer Mail.
You've got mail.
My first piece of Viewer Mail comes to our email address at bronzeandmoderngods@gmail.com from Alan Carr, who is a frequent friend of the show and commenter. Good evening, gentlemen. Forgot to ask, but of general interest and perhaps a thing we should all know, but how do CGC grade the serrated page bottom editions of Charlton Comics? What that is their Charlton Comics notoriously poor printing practices. They had a serrated edge on for a while there. So when the book got cut at the bottom, it actually has a jagged serrated edge. I've seen quite a few in decent condition, but it looks like pinking shears were the only tool of choice at the printers. Cheers from our friend, the Gold Key 4-color kid down under, Alan Carr. Thanks, Alan. Yeah, all these production defects on Charlton books are taken into account by CGC when they grade it. If it is a known production defect and it affects a certain number of books and months within the run, they don't count against it. I've had books with just actually not even just Charlton books. Transformers #1 from Marvel is another example. The back cover edge on most copies is really crumbly and serrated because the blade was really dull.
Oh, wow.
I've had 2 or 3 9.8s of my Transformers #1 come back with that back cover. Why? Do you have one? I see you looking.
Yeah, I have one. It's not up on the wall right now, but I'll have to take a look at it just to see.
Yeah, I was a little worried when I sent it in. And at first I thought it was trimmed. I thought, I'm not going to send this in. It's restored. And I did some Googling, and sure enough, it's a known issue. So I sent it in. Sure enough, came back a 9.8. And I sold it for like $3,000 in 2022.
Good man.
I have no love for Transformers. So that was one of my big wins.
I don't either. I bought one really cheap, but it was cheap because the case was cracked,
Mm.
and I think I paid 400 for it. And
Ooh.
I just haven't gotten it sent in to be reslabbed. So
Oh,
it
wow.
sits there in my box next to my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1 that also has a crack case that I need to get reslabbed. So
While we're talking about Charlton books and their notoriously shoddy printing, our friend Charlton66, who should know with a name like that, he also wrote and tell us that the legend I mentioned about Charlton's infamous printing press also being used to print cereal boxes, apparently it's untrue. A little bit of an urban legend. I'm not sure, but Charlton66 said it is an urban myth, and he sent us this quote. I'm going to put it on the screen now from the Charleston Companion, published by Tomorrow's Publications, who I love their stuff. Jack Kirby Collector, back issue, all sorts of different books. And it says, nope, that's a negative, people. Finding zero evidence to support the rumor that Charlton Press did not print cereal boxes. Sorry, I said that wrong. It should be, I'm finding zero evidence to support the rumor, period. Charlton Press did not print cereal boxes, though as it was, they often did a poor enough job printing their own magazines and comics. The debate continues. You know, I grew up knowing, and I'm putting knowing this in air quotes, that this was a known thing that Charlton's printing press was used to print boxes and packaging. But according to this Charlton Companion, which I need to buy, I'm sure I will devour this book. It's not true.
oh, maybe Christmas is coming up, John.
Well, don't buy me a book. I buy it digitally for me. I read it on the iPad at night.
Yeah, I totally understand.
I'm assuming you're buying it for me. Did you like that? How I just went right into that? What's your first piece of viewer mail?
My first piece is from Jeff Booth, who also wrote us at brownsingandmoderngods@gmail.com. And you sent this to me when Jeff wrote it. Richard, I assume you have seen these already, but just wanted to make sure they are on your radar with all the talk about corner boxes in the last couple of your shows. I kind of wish they looked a little more a little more old school, but I think this one is still pretty cool. And so he sent a link to a Previews World catalog entry, and we clicked on it, and John, if you can show the image, and it looks like a corner box. It's kind of a modern interpretation of the corner box with the figure and the price box at the bottom. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm with him though. It doesn't make any sense. She's standing over the trade dress. You know, we're being picky now.
I'll buy it. To me, it's like our friend Forrest, who collects tennis covers. I collect corner box covers. So if they're going to do a corner box like this, I will happily pick one up.
Jeff, I'm with you. I'm not a fan. All right, my next piece of viewer mail is from Jim, and he also emailed us at bronzeandmoderngods@gmail.com. Hi, guys. Love your show. Thank you, Jim. It is by far the best comic cast I watch on ye olde YouTube. I am also an old fart, so it's right up my alley. I, too, love me some Quasar. Jim, we're best friends now. Bye, Richard. I got this card signed in person back in 91 or 92, and I've had it sitting around ever since.
Oh, wow.
When CGC started grading Marvel cards, I sent this off to be graded. Didn't care what it came back as, just wanted it graded. I figured John might be the only other person on the planet that might enjoy this as much as I do. Here is a link to the card pictures on the CGC trading card census. I won't tell you exactly what it is so that it will be a surprise. Population count 1 of 1, baby.
Wow.
Keep up the great work, Jim. I clicked on this link and this appeared. It's a Mark Grunwald autographed trading card. As you can see, it's got a drawing of Mark Grunwald in a combination Quasar and Captain America costume, because those were the two books he was very passionate about and wrote for years. My favorite part of this, besides the signature on the back, is the angry mob chasing him with torches and
okay, I'm confused. So this is signed. Gotcha.
So it's not, even though Jim says he got it signed, maybe he got it signed another one, but these did come signed.
Ah, gotcha.
So
Okay.
that's why it doesn't have a yellow or a green qualified label. I believe. Jim, tell me if I'm barking up the wrong tree.
Gotcha.
Richard, your next piece of viewer mail is from Richard.
Yes, it is. Richard only. Just a tip I learned not long ago. If you submit to CGC signature signing events, you can put a note on the book and the artist will and tell the artist what color ink you want. They usually have at least 10 different colored pens with them. Always ask for paint pen looks. Sorry, always ask for paint pen. It looks much better than Sharpie ink pens. Yeah, this is a great tip. I I would recommend, when you send a book into a signature show, you put the book in a specially modified um, bag and board where you cut out the area where you want them to sign, and you put tape around the edge to protect that area. On that tape around where you cut out, make sure you mark on there the type of ink that you want them to use, the type of pen, as well as arrows to point to where they want to sign it. Don't rely on a sticky note or something like that. These guys are churning hundreds of books through as they're doing this. So the more upfront and clear you can make where you want and how you want it, the better. Also, some artists like Clayton Crane will charge a surcharge for multicolored signatures. So if you ask Clayton to do a multicolored signature, you may be charged more money for that. So just be prepared for it. But it's a great tip. You don't have to accept the black Sharpie marker that they use. Most of these signers have available to them other colored pens, and request something that better matches the color scheme of the cover. Cool tip.
You ruined my joke.
Why?
I was going to say you could also request they sign it in rainbow multicolor paint pen and leave a note, sign here, rainbow color paint pen, do not take my wife.
Oh my God. Oh, so we're going for never having Clayton on the show. Is that the...
Would you want it?
Oh,
Well, you know what? It would be an interesting conversation. I just don't think it would go the way
probably
might.
not.
Hey, our email at bronzemountaingods@gmail.com is packed. This one's from David, aka Everyday a Story Collects on Instagram. Hi, team. Love the show. Long-term fan. Following this week's video with the discussion on the Secret Wars #8 Mark Jewelers variant, I found myself collecting UK price variants and double covers, along with direct and newsstand editions. As a result, I'm holding high-graded copies in all forms. Have either of you gone down this type of variant completionist rabbit holes outside of Richard's Miles Morales Ultimate Fallout 4 #4 collection? Signed, David Powell, aka Everyday a Story Collects on Instagram. David, yes, I certainly have. I've talked about this on the show in the past. I haven't talked about it in a while, a few months, so be lots of new viewers, so they probably don't know. But I am on a quest to get every variant of Captain America issue 212.
Right.
For those of you who don't know, this is Captain America issue 212 by Jack King Kirby. This is the regular version. It's a 9.4, 30-cent cover. Nice, not too shabby, right? But we also have a Mark Jewelers variant. See at the top there, a little Mark Jewelers variant note. It's a 5.5 white pager. I didn't, I haven't found many of them, so I grab it when I could. And then I have the UK Pence edition that I got in the UK, strangely enough. Came back a 9.0 white pager. And I couldn't find it. It's somewhere. It wasn't where it was supposed to be, but I also have the Whitman variant of this book. I don't have it slabbed. That may be why I couldn't find it. So I'm missing two still. I'm missing the 35-cent variant that's out there, very scarce. And even scarcer, the 35-cent variant that is missing the Marvel Comics group across the top yellow banner there, where the black plate fell off for part of the print run. Very expensive. There's one on eBay now, I think, for $2,500. So that would be a total of 6 different versions of this cover from 1977. Yeah, 1977, when variants weren't even a thing. There are 6 variants of Captain America 212, and I'm slowly working my way through them. How about you?
Well, first of all, I want to correct. It is not a or Ultimate Fallout 4 number 4 obsession. I collected every variation of every book in the 6 issue run of Ultimate Fallout. The newsstands, the directs, the 1 in 25 variants. I have them all. And
So you're saying it's even worse.
it's even worse. It's
Okay.
even worse. But no, I have not. I have not gone for collecting, for example, newsstands exclusively or Mark Jewelers. I just don't find enough Mark Jewelers to make it. They're kind of like a unicorn from what I come across. But there are books that there are series I collect all variants of. But no, I have not collected it in that. But I really I'm impressed by your ability to do that. If you have anyone else has a specific niche that they like to collect, let us know. I'd love to see. I love to see how people approach the hobby and how many different ways people find value in the hobby. I think that's really cool.
Well, I think this one's very different because it was a book I was reading as a kid. That was my favorite comic, my favorite character, my favorite artist, one of my favorite covers. It was all, it all just converged. And just the fact that this issue in particular has 6 different variants struck me as strange and appealing. And I thought, I must have them all.
Yeah.
You must. Still working on that 35-cent variant. And I've passed a bunch of those up on eBay because they just are so expensive and people don't want to give up those 35-cent variants if they have them in your collection. What is your last piece of viewer mail?
My last piece is from Lee Nearin. I have almost all of the Incredible Hulk books from the 1980s through 1990. I never noticed the transformation in that corner box. I was talking about the transformation from Hulk 292 through 300. In the corner box, he goes from basically Professor Hulk all the way to Savage Hulk over those 9 issues. And it's a pretty cool transformation. I went and dug out the books, and it is really cool to see in person. It reminds me of those flip cartoons that one used to get as a book, where you would flip the page and make each page move, forming a mini cartoon. I remember those. Thank you so much, guys, for showing this. It's something that I just never realized, and I can show my son. I think he's going to get a kick out of it. Yeah, I love those kinds of Easter eggs, those things that they never really announce. They just happen. So if anybody else has any cool corner box stories or anything to share, I'd love to hear them. They're definitely something I have interest in, and I'd love to share the discoveries with the rest of our viewers.
It's funny you say that, Richard, because we did get another example of a cool corner box from our buddy Mike Durst, who sent us this from I can't remember what issue of Amazing Spider-Man, but it's in the middle of the Hobgoblin saga. And there is the Hobgoblin saying, "It's great, steal it."
Oh, I forgot about that one. That is so awesome. I always wonder when you see something that says "steal this book" or whatever, how much trouble do the retailers get into because of that?
That Abby Hoffman inspiration, that Abby Hoffman wrote that book, Steal This Book. He was, a famous yippie in the 60s, which reminds me of my favorite Norm Macdonald joke from Weekend Update of all time. Yippee! Abby Hoffman died this week. Oh, I'm sorry. That should read, Yippee! Abby Hoffman died.
Oh, that's funny.
That Hobgoblin corner box came out in 1983.
Yes, it did. You know what else came out in 1983?
The book that's being featured in the old fart rule. Yes. Come on, segue. What you got?
That was not bad. This week, I apologize for I'm old, and therefore I forgot we had an old fart rule last week. So I did the show notes and I added the one, another one for this week, and it is
anyone's going to complain.
It's Marvel Age #1 from 1983. Marvel Age #1 came out in 1983. For those who don't know, Marvel Age is Marvel's house organ publication. It promoted and announced upcoming books. Um, it was one of those books, it was a 25-cent cover price on it originally. And it was one of those books I don't ever remember paying for, but I always got. It was always one of the books I got. Did I read it all the time? No, I did not. But there were certain issues that I did read, especially if it featured characters that I like the X-Men. And it was a I don't want to say perennial favorite, but it was a perennial purchase. So every time it came out, I had it. So to think that 1983, it's been 40 years since Marvel Age #1 came out, that is scary. Marvel is celebrating the 1,000th issue of Marvel Age. And John and I were talking. We don't believe there are actually 1,000 issues of this published. They're doing their, let's make the number that we want it to be. So in August of this year, the 1,000th issue is coming out. It's going to have a special Marvel stamp number 1,000. Again, I don't think there are 1,000. I did find out there are several different series of Marvel value stamps. The latest ones were in 2017, but there are more than just the ones that came out in the 70s, which I thought I didn't know. Issue #1 talked about the saga of Crystar. Do you remember Crystar, John?
Crystar, Crystal Warrior.
Oh, okay. I always pronounce it Crystar.
That was Marvel's attempt at reverse engineering a toy line. So instead of Hasbro or someone coming, or Mego or whatever, coming to them to create a toy line for them, Marvel said, we're going to create a toy line comic book kind of background Bible and everything, and then go after a toy company to do it so we can keep the majority. Is licensing in reverse, basically. And they did it with Remco, I believe. And you can see it was a huge success because kids are still playing with Crystar toys to this day.
Oh my goodness. I didn't look up how many issues that this series went, but it couldn't have gone very many.
12 issues, I think, of Crystar.
12 issues? Oh, it's terrible.
Marvel
Age.
It ran for 40 issues originally. It got canceled in 1994, when the comic dip happened.
Oh, I didn't know that. Was not something that I read. There are a number of Marvel Age issues that have some value. Issue #12 has the preview of Spider-Man's black suit. Issue #41 has a Stan Lee cover, which people love to get Stan to sign. Issue #1 goes from eBay from $5 to $10, just one of those dollar bin things. But if you grew up in the 80s and you collected comics, I can almost guarantee you someplace, somewhere in your collection, there is a Marvel Age book languishing in the corner. And this is the beginning of it all. And I don't have one in my collection. I do want to pick one up just so that I can read through it and have that nostalgia feeling.
If you want to have some fun digging through Marvel Age back issues, get issue 139, the second to last issue, because it's promoting Batman and Punisher crossover, and Batman's on the cover of Marvel Age. I always thought that was funny.
That is cool.
I can't think off the top of my head, but I imagine when they did the Amalgam universe that they had to have DC characters on the cover of Marvel Age as well. I don't know. You guys tell me. But a good one. Marvel Age kind of almost killed fanzines.
Yeah.
And I say that, because Comic Reader, I remember it being a big controversy that when Marvel decided to publish their own fan publication with Marvel Age, that they stopped cooperating with some of the big fanzines like Comics Journal, Amazing Heroes, Comic Reader, and it really kind of hurt Comic Reader the most. And I don't think they last for another year after Marvel Age came out. So, not the best legacy, but it's a legacy. Moving on to our underrated books of the week. I can start, Richard.
Okay.
My underrated book this week is a little gem called Marvel Superheroes #14. Ever see this?
No, I can't say that I have.
This is it used to be Fantasy Masterpieces, and then with issue 12, it turned into a tryout book with, you know, a different tryout superhero.
Mhm.
Captain Marvel was the first for the first two issues, and then this third issue of Marvel Superheroes, number 14, features Spider-Man, as you can see there on the cover. It's written by Stan Lee, but what's cool is it's drawn by Ross Andrew. And this started off as a fill-in story for Amazing Spider-Man. John Romita, the regular artist, had injured his wrist, and so he thought he was going to miss the deadline for the next issue. So Stan threw the plot over to Ross Andrew and Bill Everett. They whipped up this issue, but then John Romita's wrist healed in time, and he was able to draw the book without missing a beat. So they just burned off the inventory in Marvel Superheroes. What's interesting about this book, it's the first time Ross Andrew drew a Spider-Man story. And as we all know, he drew Spider-Man for most of the 70s, starting with Marvel Team Up, then moving over to the main title. He also, as a little bonus in that book, you get some Golden Age, Submariner, Captain America, and Human Torch reprints, along with a reprint of the Mercury story from Red Raven Comics #1. Do you know what Red Raven Comics #1 is?
I knew you were going to ask me, and I know I don't.
Early, early timely, 1940. It
Mhm.
was the first book that Joe Simon and Jack Kirby packaged for Timely. They put it all together, but it was a one shot. It lasted one issue. It's a lot of Jack Kirby art. And then, of course, the next book they packaged was a little book called Captain America Comics that did okay.
Mhm.
Uh, but the Red Raven Comics is very, I think it's only been reprinted once in full in Simon and Kirby Omnibus. So to get this Mercury story from it was really a nice bonus. This book has had one 9.8 sale ever. And that was back in 2013 for $680.
Wow.
Do you know why there might be only one 9.8 sale, Richard?
No, why?
Squarebound book from 1968, black cover all around. It is tough. The 12-month average for a 9.4, a little more attainable, is $476. But we've seen a recent sale, which I'm going to guess is an outlier, for $228. This is a Spider-Man book from 1968. Squarebound, black cover. Why is it not $1,000 book?
Yeah, that's a good question. Now, this Marvel Superheroes, is it the same Marvel Superheroes series as Superheroes #20 that my Doctor Doom book back here is a part of?
Yes. Yeah, it
Okay.
was the tryout book, so it was a
Yeah.
different so you Doctor Doom was issue 20, exactly.
Yep.
Black Knight, Medusa, Kazar, every issue had a different feature.
And you're right. These square books are notoriously difficult to get in
Mhm.
high grade because they get smushed, they get damaged to the spine. So I'm not surprised that I think of this book there are only three 9.8s.
Wow.
Um, so it is a difficult book to get in high grade.
Yeah, so Marvel Superheroes 14, just kind of a cool Spider-Man oddity for you people doing a Spider-Man run.
Mhm.
Don't leave this one out. What Speaking of Spider-Man, I'm shocked at your underrated book this week, Richard. You throw
Yes,
me for a loop.
I know. I go outside my comfort zone as I often do. My pick this week is Miles Morales, #15 from 2020. This book is has a on the cover you see it is a little indicator that says Strange Academy preview, and it's a preview story, backup story uh, that features the characters from Strange Academy. This came out the month before, came out in February versus March for when Strange Academy #1 came out. So is this the first appearance of Strange Academy? It's not the full team, but it's majority. It's one of those things that the market has to decide upon. Um, the reason why I picked this book, of course, is because this is Miles Mania week, where we have the Spider Verse movie coming out, but also in August, Marvel is going to be releasing a new book called Strange Academy Miles Morales, #1. And we're going to have a book that features Miles and the Strange Academy. I don't want to call it a team group.
Mm.
So it's a nice tie-in between the two franchises, and this is the first appearance of the Strange Academy in a Miles Morales book. So I thought it was a cool pick. You can get this book cheap, 15-20 bucks on eBay. People do call it out as preview, and I think at some point we'll see get more interest on this book. So now's a good time to pick it up. These underrated Miles books, the whole Miles Morales, Spider-Man Miles Morales series, I think is an undervalued series. There's a lot of first appearances in there, and I think if you see them, pick them up because they're probably still inexpensive, but at some point they won't be.
There are a few of books from March 2020 that feature that Strange Academy preview. Thor #2, Ravencroft miniseries issue 1, Avengers 30, Doctor Strange #2 from 2020, and even Ant-Man #1 from 2020. They all had that Strange Academy preview, but as you say, this is the one where if this Miles Strange Academy series comes out, this is the first, I don't know, cross-pollination of two properties.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I like that Venn diagram of Miles and Strange Academy coming together.
We don't know what it is, but go buy it if you see it. Words to live by. Richard, another week, another show. Remind everybody where they can find us on the social medias.
On Instagram and Facebook, they can find us at Bronze and Modern Gods. On the web, we can be found at bronzeandmoderngods.com. And if you like to email us, bronzeandmoderngods@gmail.com is monitored by our resolute team of interns, which is really John.
It's me.
And as you can see from this week's show, we really appreciate and enjoy hearing from you. And we will give your email the attention it deserves.
Hey, I can't add anything to that except for we'll see you next week.
Everybody, stay safe.